If you are in the Scottish Highlands, at this moment in time, you may spot something unusual amongst the heather as you're walking along. Look out for meteorite fragments.
So, this moment might explain why a so-called fireball exploded in the sky in July, and that scattered the rocks across the Ben Alder area.
So now researchers want walkers to find any remnants and bag up their findings because they could tell us more about our solar system and how the Earth was formed, as Dr. Anya O'Brien from UK Fireball Alliance explains.
So this fireball on the 3rd of July in Scotland was so bright that despite it being at 1 a.m, it lit up Scotland literally like the night sky. People saw it across the country. People heard a massive sonic boom that sounded like a bomb to some people. Apparently, there are people in Fort William who thought that there was an explosion. And there was an explosion. It was just of space rocks and nothing more worrying than that. So this fireball streaked across the sky and we think dropped up to 10 kilos at a time of space rock across the Highlands. So we're really keen to have this meteorite retrieved because scientifically there'd be so much value. So we think the kind of meteorite it is probably older than the Earth, or at least lots of parts of it are. So what we're asking for is if anyone is out Munro bagging, there are 3 Munros on the fall line, we're asking them to be thinking about meteorite bagging as well. So if you want to bag a Munro, you can bag a meteorite, and quite literally we'd like you to bag it. So ideally, if you think you found a meteorite, you wouldn't touch it with your bare hands because then it might contaminate the stone. They're not toxic, don't worry, there's no risk there. So if you think you found one, what you're looking for is something dark and shiny. Probably, realistically, it's going to look quite different to anything around it. It's going to look out of place.
So let's find out more about this. The astrophysicist Dr. Chris Copperwheat is here with us now. Can I just say, Chris, I love the title of our last guest, UK Fireball Alliance.
That's incredible, isn't it?
That's a good name.
It's the new superhero team. I'd love to be part of the UK Fireball Alliance.
But you're not part of their alliance.
I'm not, no.
But you do know a thing or two about what we're talking about. So if someone's walking around, what might they see? How will they know something has come from there rather than something regular?
Sure, yeah. I mean, so meteors, meteorites, they do tend to look quite different. It's going to be black. It's kind of scored through the heat and the pressure as it came through the atmosphere. So black, a little bit shiny. This one in particular, it's believed has quite a high iron content, so it's going to be a little bit rusty as well. About 30% of these meteorite fragments are going to be made of iron.
And what sort of your hands are sort of this size then, but what could be all different sizes of fragments?
Could be any size. Yeah, they could be small handheld pieces. They could be tens of centimetres across. So the UK Fireball Alliance, they've asked if there's any small pieces that you could sort of safely collect. They're asking ideally if you have a sort of a sandwich bag or foil, something to protect it. Use that. If it's a big piece, so record the GPS coordinates of where you are and get in touch with them. So this is a rare opportunity. So, I mean, the reason why we're interested in these things is they're giving us an insight into the early solar system and how the formation of the Earth. So when we study the Earth, the rocks of the Earth, there's a long history of, water and life, erosion, all the natural processes. They don't tell us much about how the Earth was in the beginning. These ones are like time capsules. They're sort of frozen with those conditions. So when they land on the Earth, and if you can find it very soon after it landed, before it gets a chance to be contaminated by, again, the water and the natural processes on the Earth, you learn an awful lot about how the Earth began. And that's why they're asking if you find one and pick it up, try and sort of, prevent yourself from contaminating it with your hand when you pick it up.
Well, you don't want to mix your DNA with alien DNA, do you?
Well, absolutely not. No. And you don't want someone to analyse this rock and think they've discovered a new form of life when actually it's just you.
How unusual was this? We saw some pictures earlier of, this coming in and exploding in the Earth's atmosphere. Because when we usually see, and you'll have to explain the difference, like comets, travel through, they're not in our atmosphere, they're above. But when we see this come through and explode in the way it did, that's not very common, is it?
So what this is a shooting star. So if you go out on any night, if it's a dark night and you study the sky for long enough, you'll see shooting stars. Most of them are quite small. They're small particles that burn up in the atmosphere. If it's a bigger piece, then it can come down and we see these sort of beautiful displays, these very bright displays. There can be explosions in the atmosphere. There can be shockwaves.
There was a sonic boom,
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. These big ones. Again, depending what it's made of, it can either sort of impact into the Earth like a bullet, or it can explode in the upper atmosphere into many fragments, which is what has happened here. So there are many fragments over a large area. So what's interesting about this is because it was so bright, because it was observed by so many people, they can triangulate where it is on the sky and get the rough idea of where it landed. So if you go out, you can routinely find meteorites because, of course, they've been landing on the Earth for millions, billions of years. So you can find old ones, but a young one that hasn't been on the Earth for very long, that's quite rare.
How easy is it to track it back to where it came from if you're looking at trajectories?
It's quite difficult because what you need to do is, because it's moving extremely fast, of course. So what you need to do is view it from multiple angles. So there's the Fireball Alliance. They run networks of cameras over wide areas to find these things, and they're helped, of course, here by there were so many civilians, people who weren't involved in the science program, who also observed it from different locations and took video footage and so on. So that gives you an area, and of course, how precise that is tells you, how big the area where it could potentially have landed. So the area here is quite large. It's a large area of Scotland around the Ben Alder mountain.
Do you know, Chris? I know you're a scientist, and we know so much now, don't we? But you go back hundreds of years, someone witnessing something like that, you might have thought it was, the end of the Earth, or they might have thought it was, some cataclysmic event, or maybe even a kind of biblical type event. It would have had so many different connotations.
Yes, yeah. I mean, there's a long history of humans interpreting things, not just like this, things like eclipses and so on in different ways as, signs and portents. The sign of a comet in the sky and that sort of thing in the Roman era was often a sign of impending doom or some great change in civilization. So yes, we are fortunate now in that we can understand these things a lot more. And they give us more of a sense of, our place in the universe, in the larger scale of things.
Well, thanks, Chris, very much. And obviously, if anyone finds anything, I was going to say send it in to us, but that would be a bad thing to do.
No,
we'd be the wrong people. Yeah. So send it to someone like Chris or the team that are looking after the UK Fireball Alliance. And as Chris is saying, just look after it. Make sure it's kept careful.